Welcome to this special feature giving you an insight into the signalling system of the Freebuild Railway. We'll begin the feature at Sun Valley, the western terminus of the line, where the local stopping train to Great Lothel is waiting to depart. The layout around Sun Valley Station is controlled by a large signal box. Aside from the platform points, which are operated by train crew, the box works all the points, signals, and the barriers of the level crossing. In preparation for the departure of the train, the signalman sets the route over the east crossover and clears the signals across it. He then heads upstairs to operate the barriers of the level crossing, which sees so little vehicular traffic that road lights were not warranted. After making sure the crossing is clear, the signalman releases the protecting signal, giving the train the all clear to begin its journey. As well as operating the points, signals, and level crossing surrounding the station, Sun Valley Signal Box is also the start of a single line. It is up to the signal boxes at both ends to ensure no trains enter when unsafe to do so. After registering the train being in section, it is important not to forget to reopen the level crossing and reset the signals to danger. Only 36 chunks down the line from Sun Valley is an automatic crossing on Sands Road, which works independently of the signalling system. There are 4 such crossings on the line at present, of which only 2 have barriers. The first stop on the train's journey is Fug Stone, which is on the single line. The station is very basic, unstaffed, and control of the platform signals is in the hands of the train crew. Almost 2.5 kilometers down the line from Sun Valley, the single line becomes double and control of the line moves to Shielm signal box. As well as protecting the other end of the single line, Shielm signal box operates the barriers and protecting signals of a level crossing. The platform signals are once again the responsibility of the train crew, and the single line points work independently of the signal box. Its protecting signals are also interlocked and both work from a single lever. A service train is approaching Shielm from the Forthspin direction. The first thing the signalman does is close the barriers of the level crossing, allowing the route to be set afterwards. An animal has been trapped between the barriers, so the signalman cannot clear the route for the approaching train. He must reopen the crossing barriers and wait for the way to be clear. Run along, Mr. Sheep, we don't have all day. Now that the crossing is clear, the signalman releases the protecting signals. and the service train is cleared to pass through. However, since our stopping passenger is still on the single line, it will have to wait at the signal until the line's clear before going any further. Once our passenger train arrives at the station, the signalman changes the signals, giving the all clear for the service train to enter the single line towards Sun Valley. Once the stopping passenger train has left the station, the signalman reopens the level crossing barriers and resets the protecting signals. Silpley Station, another 2 kilometers down the line from Shielm, is similar to Fug Stone in that it's basic and unstaffed. Without the need for another intermediate signal box on this long stretch of double-track plain line, the adjacent level crossing is fitted with automatic half barriers. One and a half kilometers further down the line from Silpley Station is Kil Mount Junction ground frame, where a yard was to be created for gold mining traffic on the edge of the Badlands. However, no one was ever contracted to such work, and the yard remains an incomplete stub of track. However, the ground frame box is still a notable part of the line's signalling system. It controls access to the stub from both directions, 2 crossovers, and all 5 protecting signals. With no traffic ever being passed to leave the main line here, the points and signals are normally set as clear for mainline traffic, meaning our passenger train carries on its journey uninterrupted. There are a couple of level crossings on the line which see so little usage that warning equipment wasn't justified. This is one between Silpley and Furrisall. Furrisall, almost exactly 3 kilometers from Silpley, is just like Sun Valley and Shielm in that it's the entrance to a section of single line. Uniquely, Furrisall station also has a third platform for goods traffic, though it's never been used. The line ahead is clear, so after our train arrives into the platform, the signalman registers that the train's in section and puts the opposite direction's protecting signal to danger. Tel Rain station is less than a kilometre down the single line from Furrisall, and is another unmanned basic station which is managed by train crew. There is no distinction between stopping and non-stopping trains, so the automatic level crossing is activated before the train stops and stays active until it passes over. Less than a kilometre down the single line from Tel Rain is the next station at Rilstone, which also serves as a passing loop. All the signals of the station, as well as the points and hand-worked gates of the level crossing, are operated from Rilstone crossing box. As our train approaches, the signalman manually closes each gate to the road. Once it's clear to proceed, he releases the protecting signal and allows the train to enter the platform. As there are no oncoming trains from the Forthspin direction, the signal beyond the platform line has already been cleared. Having watched the train arrive, the signalman resets the protecting signal and reopens the crossing gates to the road. And after watching the train depart from the platform, he records the train being in section and sets the onward signal to danger. Mon Lagoon station is about halfway down the kilometre-and-a-half of single line between Rilstone and Forthspin. It is another unstaffed basic station which is uniquely only accessible by ferry. At the end of the single line is Forthspin South signal box, which protects this end of the single line and oversees 4 sidings, 4 crossovers, a level crossing, and a spur of track that provides a connection to the South Town branch line. Said branch line crosses under the main line here too, and runs behind the signal box to run directly to Forthspin Junction. As our train approaches the box, the signalman ensures that all the points are set to the right route before going to the upper floor and closing the level crossing barriers. There is a long footbridge that somewhat blocks the signalman's view of the crossing from the upper window, but it's still just visible enough that conversion to CCTV operation wasn't necessary. Now the signalman needs to clear both the approaching signal from the Sun Valley direction and the crossing protecting signals. Shortly afterwards, a driver begins their shift and arrives to take some of the empty coaching stock in the sidings back to Sun Valley for a later service. Only one set of points needs to be changed in order to set the route, and the line ahead is clear. After operating the correct lever, the signalman steps outside and gives a visual confirmation to the driver that they're clear to proceed, since there are no signals for the sidings. Once the stock movement has left the sidings and made its way onto the single line towards Furrisall, the signalman returns to the box, resets the points, and registers the train as in section. Meanwhile, our stopping passenger is just leaving Mailey Station, which is just the other side of the level crossing. It is currently the only station on MRB infrastructure to have curved platforms like this. Very shortly afterwards, the train is approaching Furrisall Junction, which is an important station connecting three different railway lines. The station's layout of points and signals are worked from an on-site ground frame box. The bay platform at the top is the terminus of the branch line trains to and from South Town. The points and signals are normally set to use that platform, but since our train is continuing to Great Lothel, the signalman needs to change the route and line it up with a mainline platform. While the train is stationary in the platform, the signalman sets the route and lines it up with the down line to Great Lothel. There are over 4 kilometers of open, unregulated track between Furrisall Junction and Lothel minor boxes, of which 2¼ are in the Great Dive Tunnel. However, hidden in the heart of the Great Dive is Winford Station. Being one of the most remote and hard-to-reach stations on MRB infrastructure, it's no surprise that Winford is another station which has minimal features and completely managed by train crew. Lothel Minor is the final intermediate station. It also serves as a junction for the Lothel West End branch line. However, the branch line services often reverse and continue to Great Lothel too. The signal box here oversees the entire layout of points, signals, and the hand-worked gates of the level crossing. As our train approaches, the signalman makes sure all the points are correctly set before going outside to close the level crossing gates. Once the gates are safely closed and locked, the signalman goes to the upper floor to release the protecting signals. And then, of course, once the train has arrived, resets the signals and reopens the crossing gates. The route ahead is correctly set, so the train is clear to proceed when ready. The final station of the journey, where the train terminates for the day, is Great Lothel. The local DMU depot is also located here, which is where our train will be going after arriving at the station. The entire layout, including a reversing siding, is overseen by a ground frame box. As you can see on the diagram, the complex nature of the box meant that its location had to be changed from where it had been planned, with the depot now occupying its place on the diagram. Normally, the route is set for trains to arrive at the bay platform to terminate, but the reversing siding to then enter the depot is only accessible from the middle one, so that's where the signalman is sending our train. Once the route is set, the signalman releases the approaching signal, allowing our train to proceed into the platform. After arriving into the platform, the driver changes ends to reverse the train towards the turnback siding. The signalman reverses the platform direction and then proceeds to set the route across the points. Once the route is set and the all clear has been given, the driver reverses out of the platform and heads towards the siding. After entering the siding, the driver once again changes ends and waits for the green signal to head towards the depot. Before changing the signal, the signalman obviously has to set the route. And finally, the train pulls away from the siding and rolls along the depot line into the shed. The train driver is now done for the day, and once the signalman resets the signal, he is too. Great Lothel is currently the full extent of the Freebuild railway, but there is still lots more to build. Maybe one day we'll see, but that's all for now.